A very good afternoon to everyone. And I'm once again delighted to welcome you to yet another episode of Futuristic Education, a web series dedicated to education, and Edudevs initiative in association with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham to enlighten and empower the education community in the education trends for the future. These are a web series where we collaboratively bring together the edu leaders and experts from various domains to voice their views on pertinent issues in the 21st century futuristic education. These are city-based webinars, and we invite the edu leaders from that particular city. And this time, the city happens to be Ghaziabad. The prospect of education begins with core pursuits of guidance and improvement towards the world's value system and progressive stance. We see that the 21st century has seen rapid changes in all dimensions: research, innovation, lifestyle, learning, education, how we actually perceive the world. Guiding students and the future of the world towards a world outside the classrooms and arming them with the tools of knowledge, self-growth is what education is all about today. Evaluating their skills and knowledge at every level is the only ways to guide them towards a betterment and advancement. These are the two crucial pillars of education then when it comes to students is monitoring and mentoring. Mentoring and monitoring. And that is the topic of today's webinar. As Carol Ann Tomlinson once said, for teachers, as for students, the most effective evaluation comes from someone who sits beside them and helps them grow, helps them understand themselves, explore their being, who they are, explore their identities. Teachers' role has immensely changed and transformed to be the guide rather than the guide on the side, rather than the sage on the stage. I extend a warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists of today. We have with us Ms. Lakshmi Madhavan, Assistant Manager, Career Counseling, Directorate of Admissions, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham University. She represents it today. We are delighted to have with us Mr. Trilok Singh Bisht, Veteran Principal, DPS Vasundhara, Ghaziabad. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. Namaskar, sir. I extend a warm welcome to Ms. Shilpa Tyagi, Principal, MPS Public School, Ghaziabad. Welcome, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, ma'am.
We also have, and I'm extremely delighted to now introduce to you a group which is none other than the youth of today, the consumers of today, the decision makers of today. They are the students. Yes, we have with us Ms. Sharanya Gupta of class 11, DPS Ghaziabad. From class 11th, we have Mr. Vatsal Srivastava, again from DPS Ghaziabad. We have Ms. Harshita Teotia, student of class 12, MPS Ghaziabad, and from the same school, same class, we have Mr. Shivansh Dubey, student of class 12. A big thank you to our esteemed panelists for sparing this time and joining the discussion today. Without much ado, let me very quickly brief you about the flow of the webinar, which has already been mentioned to you in our communications. We start with an ice-breaking round. The same question will be addressed to each of the panelists, followed by a specific question would be addressed to a panelist to hear your viewpoints, views about that particular aspect. You see, mentoring and monitoring are the foundational terms of a classroom. Teachers are by default mentors. However, along the path of following the curriculum, the two terms are often used together and lose their function and meaning at times. Teachers juggle in this rut of no matter how much they want to mentor, they get embroiled in the rut of finishing the curriculum, giving the best results to the school. So mentoring and monitoring is a recurring process based on student progression and improvement at every stage of development of their skills. My question to our esteemed panelists for today is, who is a mentor and why is there a need to have a mentor? You would reflect briefly on this and then help us identify what is the difference between mentoring and monitoring. We will be proceeding with in the sequence of first Ms. Lakshmi Madhavan, then Mr. Trilok Bishtji, and followed by Ms. Shilpa Tyagi. Ji Lakshmi ji.
Yeah. So hi, and I'm really honored and I'm really happy to be a part of this session. And I'm happy that I would be able to share my insights on the concept of monitoring and mentoring, which is really important at this point of time. So it's like we all know for the past 2 years, you all have been in your homes, you're taking classes online. So a lot of things have happened, a lot of differences have happened. Maybe some of you are feeling low, maybe you're feeling stressed, maybe depressed and all. So the need for a mentor or maybe someone to monitor what all you have to do is really important at this point of time. So according to me, we have heard about the term monitor or monitoring. It's a very common term, right? Maybe like a person to take a charge of something. Maybe in every company, every school, there is someone to monitor us. Maybe our teachers, being myself a teacher for some 5 to 4 years in my career. So I have been monitoring students, maybe tracking them, what they have studied, what is their progress. So we have been doing all these things. So according to my opinion, the concept of this monitoring maybe will change in your future. So what we used to do is we used to monitor the marks of the students, where his position is, what does it, or how it's good, how the whole process is going. So now we'll mostly concentrate on the concept of mentoring. We never used to focus on whether they have understood the concept more or how much they have learned and all. So monitoring is the something called as the performance evaluation, rather than I would call it as the performance enhancement. So there is something which is being evaluated, maybe the marks of the student or something. That's what is happening in monitoring. So according to me, mentoring is a really big concept where monitoring can also be included. So maybe an experienced individual or maybe a coach or someone, maybe a counselor or maybe a teacher, everyone can be a mentor who helps the child maybe in every way, or to help him nurture his skills, maybe to teach him some soft skills, to connect with different peoples in the world. So to give an idea about the world, a mentor has to be there for every student. And that's really important at this point of time. So that's what the minimum concept I have about a mentor and a monitor.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Yes, it's a constant evaluation process that makes mentoring a powerful concept. Let us hear out from Trilok Bishtji. Sir, mentor कौन होता है? पहले तो ये बताएं. और टीचर like mentoring जरूरी क्यों है? Yes, sir.
See, first of all, good evening to everyone, and thank you so much, Pam, for having me on your portal today. On
Thank you
this
so much,
platform,
sir.
it's always a pleasure meeting you and talking to the larger educators who are there, larger group of people. There are 100 people, and I see many people are sending me a message that full capacity is there, now we cannot enter. So it means the popularity is so much that so many more people want to come here in this meeting today.
Thank
So
you
for
so
me,
much.
Mentoring and monitoring and mentoring are two very important aspects of. I don't know why there's two people entering in the waiting room is coming on my screen again and again.
Yes, it's coming on my screen as well. Yes.
When we say mentoring, when I'm mentoring someone, we are trying to make the people understand what is a way, what is a what how the people can move towards their goals. Mentoring is like during the pandemic, there were people, there were teachers who were needed to mentor the children how to look for the different ways out during that crucial time when schools were shut down for almost 2 years. Had there been no mentors, mentoring would have not been possible. So these two have to go hand in hand. Mentoring is measuring, gauging how much has been achieved. I've been mentoring my children. Suppose I'm mentoring them for music or classical music or something like that. Then I need to, while mentoring, I need to monitor as well as to why my children are they able to achieve a particular goal. We have to set some goals, and to achieve those goals, we have to mentor as well as monitor. Monitoring is like measuring, tracking, and finding out how much the child has achieved and what are the rubrics for it. And whereas mentoring is a larger perspective of it, it's a bigger process where a lot has to be done. When I say mentoring, as a teacher, as a principal, if I'm mentoring my teachers, if I'm mentoring my students, we may be mentoring our support staff as well. Today I'll just share with you, there was a little fiasco in the school. There was a damage control had to be done. There was some, the fourth class employees had some tussles. I had to go and intervene. That is also mentoring. How you manage the the kind of problems which are coming your way. So I think mentoring is a larger perspective. It is a bigger goal. It's a process-driven aspect of mentoring and monitoring, whereas monitoring is just milestones. After every milestone, I'm judging that, we have achieved this much. Okay, this much is left. Let us all work together. So I believe mentoring and monitoring have to go hand in hand. This is how I believe on this. I think 2 minutes are over, so I'll not speak more than
No,
this.
thank
right?
you so much.
Thank
I
you.
think, sir, it was extremely clear and crisp because, so, when you said that, yes, mentoring is a very larger, it's an umbrella term. And I feel personally that to be a mentor, as you just said, that, you can have to be a mentor to your staff, to the supports, to anybody. But there is a lot of responsibility that lies on the mentor because mentor is looked upon, and mentoring goes beyond that evaluation or quantifying the evaluative aspect of the which monitoring has. Let's hear out. Thank you, sir. Let's hear out what Shilpa, sir, no, you stay here for the rest. Let's hear out what Shilpa Tyagi ma'am has to say. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. According to me, a mentor is generally more experienced than a mentee and makes use of that experience in a very facilitative way to support and promote the development of the students. This also helps to develop cognitive, psychomotor, and affective skills. Now, I would just like to share that mentors usually raise our confidence and problem-solving abilities, along with developing leadership skills. Having a mentor to advise at every time and to guide us definitely increases our self-confidence and helps to develop our problem-solving skills. Now, I would just like to say that monitoring, it is a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and of course, using information to track a student's progress towards reaching their main objectives and goals. Like it can be periodical tracking, daily, weekly, maybe monthly, quarterly, annually, of these students' progress by, systematically gathering and analyzing. Monitoring definitely involves the collection of routine data that measures the students' progress, achieving the objectives and learning outcomes. It is used usually to track the outputs and the performance of the students, whereas mentoring is a dynamic and collaborative process. It is a particular form of relationship designed to provide personal and professional support to the students. This helps, of course, lays emphasis on thought process and de-emphasizes on memorization. Monitoring, of course, evaluation, it helps us in time to time evaluation and is an integral part of teaching learning process. Monitoring usually improves the students' achievement and teaching learning strategies on the basis of regular diagnosis followed by remedial actions. Mentoring makes the process of teaching, learning a learner-centric activity.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am is very beautifully given. So I think people who cannot differentiate between monitoring and mentoring, I'm sure they would understand that mentoring is an extremely large process. And I think a lot of responsibility, as I always say, more than a mentee, the role of mentor becomes very important. Let me quickly come to my students and not leave this segment without taking insight from them. So, yes, if I asked Shivansh, do you have any mentee system in your school?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having a question with me. Ma'am, can you please repeat your question, please?
Do you have any mentor-mentee system in your school? Do you have mentors in your school?
Yeah, ma'am, definitely. We have a great teachers and we have a great collaboration with our teachers. Even sometimes they could understand us much better than us. So, ma'am, to be honest, my teachers are so good, and to be happy to Shilpa ma'am to be our principal, and she's also there. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Great, great, very beautifully. You know what, Shivansh, you said something which was so bang on. You said, yes, there are our teachers whom sometimes we go to. So whether there is a designated structure of mentor-mentee, there definitely every teacher is like a mentor to you when you can go back to her with varied problems and you know that the teacher can solve those issues for you. Very well said. And you've actually brought out the philosophical aspect of the mentor-mentee relationship, that every teacher, whether designated or not, is a mentor. Thank you so much, Shivansh. Very well said. Now we come to an aspect which is scaffolding. Scaffolding is an instructional practice where a teacher gradually pulls herself away, removes that guidance, support, weans away that, and makes the student independent. And that is the longer perspective of mentoring. The goal of scaffolding are to increase student proficiency, develop their skills as self-regulated learners. So scaffolding is a very important aspect in the process of mentoring. So my question to Mr. Trilokesh, how can scaffolding enhance the mentoring process in classrooms and how can the same be implemented? And then I would like to pass the same question to Lakshmi ma'am also.
See,
Ji,
ma'am,
sir.
when we talk about mentoring in the classroom, we
Ji.
have to, the mentors, I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When we are going to mentor in the classroom, according to me, first and foremost, is the teacher has to come down to the level of the students. Teacher has to understand what the child wants. Mentoring doesn't mean that dictating the terms and condition of yours. A teacher should never become a dictator in the class. A teacher has to be a mentor in the true sense, and a good mentor is one who gives a voice and choice to his students. The children have to take the ownership along with the teacher. As a mentor in the classroom, one has to be more of a facilitator, not like a boss, not an autocratic or a dictator kind of a thing. Gone are the days when we were writing on the board telling, come on, copy down everything, whatever I taught. How many of you have understood? 5 children raising their hands, and we feel very we are tom-tomming about ourselves. Yeah, I'm a good teacher. 5 children raise their hand. And what about the rest 25 children? We never bothered. So a good mentor is one who takes care of the inclusiveness in the class. Every student has to be taken care of, and if we are not doing that, it means the mentoring is not happening in the right direction. And moreover, when we are mentoring in the classroom, we have to understand that children are understanding what I'm teaching and they're able to retain it. It's not that what I taught them, they mugged it up, vomited in the examination, and then after vomiting in the examination, next day when you ask them anything, they are totally blank and they'll say, Tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera. So that should not happen with the children. As a
So
mentor, we have to ensure.
at
Yeah.
what level the teacher has to take a back, like in that process of mentoring, what is that time when the teacher feels that, I can give that ownership, I can give that accountability, and now it's time for me to keep stepping back? Sir, wo bataiye.
See, what I believe is, as a teacher, as a mentor, first of all, we have to ensure that what the child knows already, and what are our learning objectives and how we're moving towards that. In between, we have to see that the children take the ownership for that. In our school, what we are doing is, if we're teaching the children in the class, after teaching the topic, we divide them into groups. Let the children have the discussion. That is a part of their, what do we call that? That is the part where we really, actually, my laptop is not working today. My
No
mobile is
problem.
moving up and down, right?
No
So
problem.
I'm
Yes,
on
sir.
a real fix
Now it's
today. I'm
fine.
not on
Yeah.
So, what I was saying, that then the children, when they discuss in groups, they come with different ideas. They might come up with better ideas. And as a mentor, you have to accept the children as coming with a better suggestions. When after the discussion, the children must present it in a form of Pechakuta presentations and then discuss with the whole class. So the whole class can participate in what the one group has talked about. Then the second group, third group, fourth group, and then the mentor has to give the inputs. As a teacher, I need to be a mentor. I have to give them the inputs in that. And after giving the inputs, I have to ask the children, all the children, to have a reflection. In the reflection, every child talks about what went right, what went wrong in the class. And teacher must have the heart to accept that the children are criticizing. It is a
Yeah.
critical appraisal of the teacher. So that is a good mentor, also takes the critical appraisals as well. If you cannot take the critical appraisal of what you're doing, sometimes, I'm mentoring my teachers. I may be telling them this, this, this. This is, sir, actually, this is not, this is quite outdated. Can we do it this way? If the suggestions are coming, I need to be receptive. As a mentor, I have to involve everyone in this. Every teacher, every student has to be involved. And what I said was, we need to give them the voice and choice. They need to take the ownership of their learning. And if you're developing this kind of a, mentees for yourself, that becomes a sustainable development of mentees by the mentor. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Very well said. Your thoughts are, I'm sure all our viewers are, they're having a great takeaway from, very well said. When you said, the voice and choice, this is the biggest role of the mentor, especially when you talk about in a scenario of school where we constantly think that our children are young and they need, no, they are not, they need us to constantly be there, and And yes, that, that mentor should be ready with that critical appraisal. So two things which Mr. Bish said is that mentor should be always ready to take that critical appraisal, and two, that the mentor should come down to the level of the students, and it's gradually one needs to take a back seat. Thank you so much, sir. Lakshmi ma'am, tell me that you're dealing with students, the undergraduate students. Now there, it's all about, the curriculum takes a major portion of the whole relationship. Now, how does this kind of a relationship sustain in an undergrad or a higher education level? Because there too they would be needing, but they might feel that since they are 18 plus, they probably don't need mentors. So there, what are your insights? Sir, your camera is, yeah, you'll have. Yes, Lakshmi ma'am. Ji, sir, now
Yeah,
it's,
ma'am.
now it's,
So I have been with a different category of students. So it's
Ji.
like I teach students for MTech. I have taken
Oh.
classes for BTech students, then these 11th, 12th, and all the kids. So I have different variety of people around me. And one thing I have observed is the perspective of students have changed a lot. So according to that, we mentors or we teachers have to change. So it's like they are mostly focusing on why they have to study all these things. So there is a question like why that comes to every student when we are teaching. So earlier we used to teach students something, some formulas or something in maths, physics or something like that. Now it's like students started asking, why am I studying integration? Why I want to study about semiconductors? Why am I studying? That why is really important when it comes to mentoring. So I have an opinion like that, and it's like
so what I was also trying to ask was, Lakshmi ma'am, that in higher education, most of the relationship is based on the curriculum transaction, whereas
yes.
the need, let's talk about going outside the classroom. When I say going outside the classroom, I mean that I'm talking
I have
about,
a very important point to share
yes,
at this
that,
point of
that
view.
relationship.
Yeah.
So you please share any experience if you have, and how does
I have an
mentoring
experience in Amrita itself. I have an experience. It's a really wonderful experience in Amrita itself. I would like to talk about something that we used to give our students. It's what we call as live-in labs.
Live-in
Live-in labs. It's something out of their subject or what they have studied. So here we'll select some maybe rural locations of our country. So students and teachers, the mentors, they'll go as a group. They'll stay there for 6 months or 3 months or 4 months. They'll study the locality. They'll come up with projects that can help the people there. So it's like all the student and teacher, the teacher is in the level of the student at that time, and it's a really wonderful experience for the students. So where they'll come up with some projects, maybe something related to water scarcity or maybe some issues like that. So they'll come up with some projects like that, and we'll help them to implement the projects. So during that time, a teacher can have a clear understanding about what the student is lacking, what skill the student is lacking. It's just a close interaction between the student and the teacher. So during that time, he'll be able to give more insights from his side to each student, and he can help them personally also. So we have this thing in our university where every group of students is having some particular personal support and exposure that is being provided.
I think this is a wonderful example of living labs, because it gives you people as educators an opportunity to remain close with the students, where you can peep into his personal life. And it's very important then for the mentor to be a role model as well, because if you go by the dictionary definition, there's a lot of responsibility on a mentor. The mentor, this mentees look upon the mentor, right? So in that kind of an unstructured environment, I think that honing of those skills, which probably skills of critical thinking, empathy, collaboration, being accountable to your, and as Mr. Bish said that, if it's a true mentor-mentee relationship, then it's a very, very sustainable model that gets created. Thank you so much, Lakshmi ma'am. I want to come back to my students. I would like to ask all 4 students that we've been talking about mentoring and monitoring. So, can you identify when we're talking about mentoring and monitoring, and what is it that you find better, mentoring or monitoring? Harshita, if you could start.
Firstly, thank you, ma'am, for the question.
Loudly, Harshita, please loudly.
Firstly, ma'am, thank you for the question. And as per my perspective, I think monitoring means is to examine someone, and mentoring means after the examine, give her like your point of view about them, is she or he is right or wrong. And for my side, I think mentoring is important than monitoring, because monitoring the student can be wrong or right, but if you take the mentoring from a right person, either it be your teacher or your parents, will give you right decision that you have to follow, like in your future or in everything.
Great. Thank you so much. Sharanya, you have any experience to share when mentoring happened and you needed that mentoring, and your problem or your situation changed due to mentoring? And then, of course, how? If very quickly, if you could come up with something, or anybody. Yes.
Like, there's not one instance with my entire life. In the school days, we cannot survive without our teachers. They are our mentors, and they are the ones who make us who we are today. They guide us, they help us, and they convert us to an adult, a good citizen. So there cannot be one instance or like just one situation where it happened. My entire life is filled with those memories.
I'm very impressed. Any one incident would you want to share with the audience here, that anywhere where you felt that you really needed that mentor, you were stuck, and it did do a difference. It did make a difference to your situation, because it's very important these days. A lot is being, or anyone. I mean, Shivansh, do you have any such memory, or Vatsal?
Sharanya can speak out. She would be
Yes.
able to give some instances.
Yes, Sharanya, would you like?
Specific incident that I remember, it happened in the 3rd grade. We just started speaking English and we weren't so fluent with it. So there was one teacher who helped us out. I could not pronounce moments, so I just pronounced it in a very different way. Our teacher wrote the entire script in Hindi with the pronunciations for me, so that just I could speak and pronounce the words properly. It took a lot of work, but that effort, that mentorship that came at that time has helped me throughout, and I have never mispronounced moments again.
Very well said. That is the power of mentorship. Incident that happened in class 3rd, which changed her whole trajectory, and in class 12th or 11th, she still remembers it. That's the impact that a mentor leaves on the child. You may forget what your teacher taught you in maths or science or English, but how she supported you when you were on your low in the life, that is the real aspect of mentorship. And what was monitoring in that? She answered it well, because the teacher wrote it down. She was constantly with her. She ensured that Sharanya was, improving. That is part of monitoring. Thank you so much, students. Wonderful. And we shall be in conversations with you. Now, moving on to keeping a constant health check on what students are grasping, on how it is being applied practically, whether they are facing any difficulties or not, because at times the teacher walks in, whether it is school or college, she delivers her curriculum. Most of the time goes in talking curriculum. What ways, Lakshmi ma'am and then Shilpa ma'am, anyone can start first. What ways for monitoring can be adopted by teachers at a micro level at schools and at a macro level to assess student growth and incorporate better teaching learning strategies. How can this mentor monitoring system be applied to better student learning outcomes? Shilpa ma'am, pehle aap bataiye.
Okay. Well, ma'am, I feel the ways of monitoring adopted by schools that the teachers are focusing on, short cycle formative assessment to monitor the students' progress throughout the course for each and every lesson. They can create small groups, planning intervention, identify learning gaps or areas of promotional growth potentials can be increased. Peer-to-peer tutoring definitely helps out. And target questioning based on the students' regular progress, like planning daily mini lessons as well as instructions are different ways, to monitor at micro level. The teachers can adopt most popular ways to operate, interpret, track the individual's learners' data. At this level, students' success is strongly related, where, clickstream data are collected, can be analyzed and translated to improve learning and increase the success graph of the students. Monitoring techniques definitely makes the teacher deepen students' knowledge. Like we can, have an entrance and an exit ticket for the student. Learning also emphasizes to when the students, are able. For example, I'll just give you, when a maths teacher enters or exit, then, problems can be solved by varying complexity, giving the teacher a clear picture whether whatever the teacher has explained, how far is the level of understanding and what alterations can be made by the teacher at his or her own end, so that every child sitting in the classroom understands, is able to express, and definitely a graph can be monitored on regular basis, and assess can be done on regular small exercises like evaluation time to time, taking quizzes, etc.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have actually carved out, you have actually laid down the pointers of a good mentor when it comes to teaching learning strategy. Lakshmi ma'am,
Yeah,
a
ma'am.
good mentor, a good mentor knows when to use coaching techniques and when to intervene with advice. So you tell us, as an educator, how does this can be applied to teaching, enhancing the student learning outcomes?
Actually, as we are dealing with higher students, it's like BTech or other degree courses, we mostly focuses on practical based learning or project based learning, or mostly on interactive methods. We usually follow this. Mostly we'll give our students practical exposure to everything that they are studying, and it's some course which is related to technology. We always have this labs and all of them. Then maybe we'll have this time to time evaluation process, maybe project based learning, problem based learning. So all these are some of the methods that we are following to help our students to come up with.
Thank you so much, because yes, as you said, that project-based learning, you're dealing more with students with projects. So I think all the skills that they gain under your mentorship and under your guidance, they are able to apply. This mentor-mentee relationship has also taken a newer, uh, a shape after the introduction of national education policy. There is a lot of talk about through mentor, being under mentors, and mentors, not just teachers, being having mentors outside the school as well. They have introduced internship models. So let me quickly go and check with them. Yes, how do you think beyond school, what are the other ways or what are the other possibilities where you can find mentors and where you can enhance your skills? So my question is to Vatsal. Vatsal, can you throw some light on this?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question? I was out of the meeting for a bit.
Yeah, I'm saying that, we've spoken about mentor-mentee relationships within the paradigm space of classroom, school per se, teachers being mentors. Do you think there are any aspects where mentors can be found outside, and and what are those ways? And as I was talking about, that national education policy talks a lot about internships, and internships are opportunities to enhance your skills, and there you are under a mentor. So I would like to ask you that what are these, have you had these experiences, or what is your insight on this aspect of mentoring going beyond
Uh,
the classroom?
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we can definitely see mentors outside of the classrooms because as important as academics are, so are extracurriculars. So if we talk about specifically internships, personally, I have also interned with WWF. There I had one of my mentors who helped me a lot throughout the process. Like we had to collect funds, talk to people, make connections about them. One of the mentors over there actually taught me how to approach more people and how I can do that. Now that is one of those skills that I have inculcated myself, and now I can easily talk to more people and have more and build more connections. And apart from internships, if we talk about all the extracurriculars, whether it be the sports or like for example any music classes, our teachers over there, they allow us to become a better versions of ourselves. They help us and guide us in every way possible to to be better than what we were yesterday. So that's my take on that.
Very well said. I think absolutely. A good mentor is one who makes you the better version of your own self. Very well said. I'm very impressed with your answer, Vatsal. Thank you so much. My question once again to one of the students is, how does over mentoring by teachers sometimes can have a negative impact on the students' progress? And what is over mentoring? I know it's a very bold question, but that is the 21st century, and we need to understand. And as Mr. Bish said, that critical appraisal, and let's have a live litmus paper test of the critical appraisal. So, Sharanya, how does over mentoring by the teachers sometimes negatively impact?
Being a student, I believe a teacher plays the most crucial role in the holistic development of a child. But it is the atmosphere around the child that decides his pattern of growth. The behavior and character of a student constantly evolves as he interacts more and more with his surroundings. If continuously monitored, the freedom of thoughts of a child, the ability to learn on their own, and the creativity may start to recede. Too much support might even lead to the learner getting dependent on being always assisted by the teachers for resolving all difficult issues. And this might leave higher order thinking abilities underdeveloped. It is also believed that a major part of development is from learning from our own mistakes. But in a highly supervised environment, it is difficult to self analyze and realize one's mistake. So, all this in the end, according to me, leads to a negative impact on a student's progress.
Very well said. I'm so impressed with your answers, whether it was Vatsal or Shivansh or Sharanya or Harshita. I think so. You people have so much of understanding, much better, and I'm very impressed with your answer, Sharanya. Excellent. That it's the line over hand holding sometimes can have a negative impact, and it curbs the creativity of the child. It curbs their critical thinking abilities. Thank you so much, Sharanya. Now, moving on to Ms. Shilpa Tyagi and Mr. Trilok Vish. Sir and ma'am, how can mentors assess students in a way that would create a balance between strictness and appreciation to help students grow in a right direction? We have heard Sharanya's feedback, and now let's go back, and if you could suggest some pointers for the teachers or the educators or whoever is in the role of a mentor, that when is the time to draw a line on how to create a balance between strictness and being appreciative of in the right direction. Ji, Mr. Bish.
See, Mamba, when we talk about the drawing the line as a mentor, too much the overdose of anything is going to have its harmful impact on the people. If I take too many medicines on one go only, I will not have any impact, good impact of it. It will have its negative impact. Similarly, if I'm going to give too much to the child on one day, which the child cannot assimilate and digest, it will definitely have the negative impact, as Sharanya said. Therefore, a mentor has to have a process-based, process-driven mentoring altogether. We must know what it has to be. Less is more. It has to be bite-sized learning, has to be taken into account. If you're making too much in one go only, nothing will be understood, nothing will be assimilated, nothing will be reproduced by the child, nothing will be remembered by the child, nothing will be retained by the child altogether. Therefore, it has to be a process where we have to have a plan. If I'm mentoring something, I must have a proper plan at place. If I'm not making less is more, as they say today, less is more. When we give small little doses, I think this is going to be remembered by the children, as they say that bite-sized learning is going to be lifelong learning altogether for the children, because that can be remembered, that can be retained, that can lead to the retention altogether. So I think bite-sized and small is more kind of a thing can be taken care of. And then when we see that the child is losing interest, we must know how to bring a little change into the mentoring process altogether. I can bring a quiz in between. I can bring some kind of test can be there. There can be a mid UI assessment. It can be end UI assessment. It can be just verbal Kahoot quiz can be there. It depends on the mentor how they are going to ensure, and they should understand. And for understanding that, every mentor has to be a psychologist also, has to be a counselor also, has to read the child's face, that now it's becoming boring. I have to bring a little tinge of it. I have to change the process in such a way that it interests the child altogether. Child starts getting interest and start getting back to the normalcy altogether, coming back to the class. Rather being a passive learner, he changes into being an active learner once again. I think this is how we have to draw the line. And for that, understanding the psychology of the children is very important for a teacher. I must say, every teacher needs to be a behavioral counselor as well today. One counselor in the whole school cannot cater to 2,000, 3,000 children. So every teacher has to be a counselor. And in our school, we have started peer educators program, where around 60, 70 children are trained every year how to handle the emotions, how to guide the juniors, how to go in the junior block and find out if somebody is facing any problem, whether it's bullying or it's maybe, academic problem or anything, any behavioral problems are there. The children are helping us. We call them mini counselors in the school or the peer educators in the school. And I think Sharanya is one amongst them. And we have a lot of students, who have been, it's a trend of DPSG Vasundhara, that if children want to be a part of peer educators program, which really trains them how to handle the emotions and take care of the mental and the physical health of the children, emotional health of the children, how to handle the crisis. All that is also very important in the mentoring. Just feeding them with the information is not enough. How to convert that information into knowledge is very important. That is the point where the thin line has to be drawn by the mentors or the educators. Thank you.
Great, sir. Great. I think you've laid out a great plan, I'm sure, for our listeners and participants who are here today. You know, one, Mr. Bish said that less is more. And so teachers need to remember that philosophy of less is more. Second, he said was plan your, lesson and plan your whole scheme of teaching. I would not just put it to lesson planning. And also he said something very beautiful, that the moment you see that the child is losing an interest, that's the role of the mentor, that he needs to change his strategies. That is very important. And sir, commendable. I'm sure our listeners would take away this mini counselor and peer educator program. It's, I'm sure, an innovation by the DPS Ghaziabad. Thank you so much for this, sir. And moving on to now to Shilpa Tyagi, ma'am. Ma'am, could you give us some tips, as Mr. Trilok Bishji has given some tips where, you know, our educators could understand and they could draw that line, which he calls a thin line, between being a coach and a mentor, when to be authoritative and when to be a mentor. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. I feel that a mentor is a guide, friend, parent, and a counselor to the mentee. The transformation of a teacher to a mentor of the 21st century aligns with the vision of the new education policy 2020, because it unveils the new standards for teachers, being a part of comprehensive effort to create a vibrant teaching professionalism for the future. The teaching standard aims to enable teachers to nurture leaders, learners today who are going to be tomorrow's leaders. Standards for teachers should be organized and create caring cultivators with, say, all-round growth. And the measures they can adopt is, nurture students holistically through character building, inspiring co-constructors of knowledge, and committed role models of professionalism. Serve as role models and enhance students' capacity for self-management, self-regulation, and lifelong learners. Rather, create loyalty issues with the students, create issues with dependence, insecurities when not being provided with mentoring. We should be inspirational co-constructors of knowledge. We can engage the students in deep learning through inspiring them to construct knowledge individually as well as collaboratively. As committed role models of professionalism, they should be pursued for professional development individually and through sharing and collaborating. Epitomize a quest for equity, excellence, and harmony.
Great.
We
Thank
can
you so
create, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your insights. And I'm sure both Ms. Shilpa Tyagi and Mr. Bish are trying to say that every educator needs to be a counselor, because one counselor cannot do justice to X number of students. And so every educator needs to be a behavioral counselor, need to empathize with the students, need to get into the shoes of a counselor and see that how, the relationship between a mentor and mentee goes beyond just from the teaching learning process to a more meaningful bond, which enhances their core skills that are so much talked about. And this is going to be now my last question as we are running short of time. All of us encounter many opportunities in our lives to either mentor, and we've already encountered them, or to be mentored. And in any mentoring relationship, the responsibility to foster and guide the process falls both in the hands of mentor and mentee. We today have mentors sitting on this panel, and we have brought the mentees too. While mentoring has widely been associated with the teacher-student relationship, one aspect which is heavily, as I mentioned, focused with NEP 2020. My question is to Ms. Lakshmi and Mr. Bish. In a new world, today's world, where knowledge is pressed at the press of a button, we require highly qualified teachers in the first place to educate students, because we expect them to be 21st century tech savvy global citizens who can sustain in the future world. How important is teacher mentoring, and how can it effective teacher mentoring make place in a system and be passed on to students well? Very briefly, let this be the sum total of our discussion today. What is the role of the teacher? वो पढ़ाए कि वो mentoring करे कि what is she, and how should she divide? I know you said so many good points, but if I get into the shoes of an educator, a teacher, how am I going to take that time out in the structure? Ji sir. Mr. Bhish? Lakshmi ma'am, can you start on this?
Yeah, ma'am. So here, it's like firstly, a teacher can be a mentor who is there to encourage the students, maybe to support them, a person who the student will have a strong feeling of trust with them. So I would focus on the method that the mentor is following. So maybe he can be an active listener. He can be there for the students the whole time. So they can adopt on which method they have to follow, what all steps they have to follow. This is really important when it comes to mentoring. So if one method is not actually getting in with the students, they need to have maybe some other separate criteria to evaluate the students. So every mentor should have some predetermined goal and clarity on what they are going to do, or what is the purpose of that mentoring, or what is the objective of that mentoring, or what are the indicators that he is using to evaluate that particular thing. Maybe every teacher can help the student to have an idea about all the 21st century skills, what are the leadership qualities, or how they should choose a career. So every teacher or mentor is playing a very huge role or an important role in these students' life. So when it comes up with a method or having a method, it will be easy to implement. Maybe when we are available for the students, they can have a discussion with us. Maybe we can do some surveys, or maybe we can have some feedbacks from the students. Then we can have an analysis, and in the open forum, we can have a discussion that which all areas they want to improve. We can take suggestions from their side, and based on that, we'll be able to help each and every student.
Okay, tell me one thing. You were talking about the living labs, which Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham is using. And those are projects. How can we replicate such in schools as well? Can they be introduced? Like if you could advise, maybe our schools could come up with some kind of this living lab.
We have the 6 months or 3 months period in our curriculum for the BTech students, maybe for their projects or internships or something. So during that time, it's just a paper that they study in one semester. So during the 6 months, whole month, they can do the whole project, maybe in any part of the country, along with 5 to 6 teachers who will accompany them for the whole period. So maybe, into a 1 week or 2 week program, it can also be included in schools. So they'll have that hands-on experience.
And that is where the real relationship between a
Yes.
teacher and a
So
student.
it's something out of campus, something out of the place, out of the classroom. They'll get more exposure. They'll be more interactive with their teachers. So they can communicate a lot of things. So that's a way where a teacher will be able to get more understanding about each and every individual and where he is lacking the skill. So he can help him way easy when we have that particular atmosphere where the kids and teachers is together.
Great, great, great. Is Mr. Bish there? Sir, is Mr. Bish there or has he left? Okay. What kind of, we've already spoken about these projects, that it is in these project-based learning when I think a great deal of mentorship can happen on the part of the teachers. Before we move on to our last segment, I would just like to conclude upon that mentoring is a learning relationship between individuals who collaborate and share mutual responsibility and accountability for helping the mentee to work towards the fulfillment of clearly mutually defined goals. So my one last question to all our students is, what do you think in the mentor-mentee relationship is the role of the mentee? Yes, we begin with, then that is the last.
Is that trust and the faith?
Acha, Mr. Bisht is here. Ji, sir.
Am I audible? Am I audible
Yes,
now?
yes, you're audible.
I was just saying the previous question also, I was trying to speak, but I think my voice was not reaching there.
So please, please, we would like you to hear you.
A mentor has to be more empathetic, has to have a research-based bent of mind, should be receptive to the criticism, and should be always having those, a mentee has to mentor has to understand that each person cannot be alike. All 5 fingers are not the same. There are different sizes. I cannot make a comparison between my teachers, my students, or the people who are working under me. If I talk about these fingers, I say this is a ring finger, this index finger, this is a thumb. Thumb doesn't have much, we don't give the importance, then we understand thumb is the only one which has a interpersonal skills, can connect with all finger with ease. Whereas other fingers take time to connect. There's a lot of effort is needed to connect the other fingers. So every child has some potential. Every teacher has some potential. Every employee has some potential. As a teacher, as a principal, as a mentor, we need to understand that differential, differential capabilities of people have to be recognized, and we cannot measure everyone with the same yardstick. This is what I wanted to say, but the mic was not helping me out. So I thought I should not stop saying what I wanted to share.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, because that's very important. This forum is to get clarity on these issues that we are so much talking about. But people don't have clarity. What has to be? There's so much talk about mentor-mentee relationships, mentoring. Delhi government also has these programs, and most of the schools are now adopting this, and they are very powerful programs. But real में role क्या होना चाहिए? Mentor का क्या roles हैं, responsibilities हैं? Let's hear it out very quickly from all 4 students. Let's see what they have on their checklist. Yes, my dear students, what is your checklist? Give me each one of you, 2 roles of a mentee. Sharanya.
I think diligence is one important characteristic that every mentee should possess. Another one should be patience and perseverance. A diligent student who perseveres and continues with the practice is a good mentee. Only after practice can we succeed properly.
Good, very good.
Thank you. Very well, very well. Great. Vatsal?
Yes, ma'am. Just like Lakshmi ma'am said, the why. Without curiosity, nothing can happen. As long as the mentee keeps asking questions and the mentor helps solving them, it's when the relationship gets better and the mentee starts to understand and develops. The why, nothing is more important than that why. personally, like I have uncountable that instances where I have these questions, and I'm very thankful to my teachers that help solve them. So for me, it's that curiosity that is an essential aspect for a mentee to have.
Great. And Harshita? Harshita, what is your take on the role of a mentee? Two qualities that a mentee should have. Shivansh?
Ma'am, according to me, a mentee should have a great quality to cooperation. I am trying to say like this key something efforts from both sides is very important. If a mentor is trying to give us the best effort for anything, then a student also have need to show his full dedication for his mentor efforts. If the mentor is trying to continuously working on him or her, and he and she should also have to be give a best to for the best result. That is a one point, and another point is a proper dedication. If a mentee has a proper dedication, a mentor's efforts is not going to be waste. So ma'am, that all.
Very good. Excellent. I think you are very, very intelligent lot. Yes, Arshita, are you there? I think Harshita has left. And so we had some enriching discussions. But yes, I'm being texted by my team that, do you have any questions to ask any panelists? The student panelists, do you have any question which you want to ask any panelist?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question for Lakshmi, ma'am.
Okay, please go ahead, Vatsal.
So, ma'am, I had a question like, what ways do teachers use to analyze the development of a student inside as well as outside of the classroom? And another one would be that, can the concept of mentoring and monitoring be applied outside of the classroom?
So hi. Uh, so the concept of mentoring and monitoring, the method of evaluation will be very high when it comes to outside the campus. So maybe if you are in your
Lakshmi ma'am,
classroom,
I think there is network.
uh, is it okay now?
Yes, yes. It's
Yeah, okay. So the concept of mentoring and monitoring can be evaluated, or it can be done very easily when it's outside the classroom. Why? Because I have been with students inside the class and outside the class. So the atmosphere difference or the environment difference can make a difference between both of their communication. So they'll communicate something personally. So the evaluation, or it'll be very easy for a faculty or maybe a teacher or a mentor to connect with the students when the atmosphere is outside. So that's the first part. And how do I evaluate students? Maybe we have different perspectives. Maybe we have different key factors to evaluate the improvement. Maybe which method we are following, or in which method we are following. Maybe in a project, if we know what is the status of the improvement, whether it's practical, or maybe what is the literature survey that a student has done. So what are the differences he have made? What method, what new method he has come up with? So we'll be working with student in each individual project that the person is doing. So we have 5 students or 6 students as a group. So I'll be with them from the 0% of the student, that is from the basic idea of the project, maybe the abstract. That's the basic outline that we used to have for a project. So the last, that's the 100% output. So even if it's a practical thing, that when we are working with robots or maybe with circuits or maybe some programming or something, I know the code from when it was 0 or 50% to 100%. So I know what all errors have happened. So how the student has improved in each and every part, how he has done the connections, or what things have happened. So what all new techniques he have researched. So that way I'll be able to analyze them easily. So I'll be with them during the whole process that they are doing. Yeah. So I hope I have answered it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I had a question as well.
Okay, yes, who's this?
Ma'am Sharanya.
Yes, Sharanya, please go ahead.
Ma'am, we had been discussing about mentoring and monitoring. So,
Question to whom are you addressing the question to?
Ma'am Lakshmi ma'am.
Okay, Lakshmi ma'am, you seem to be very popular among students. Yes.
Maybe I used to take students for sessions for school kids. Maybe that's why.
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Like we had been discussing about mentoring and monitoring. How do the teachers identify like when the monitoring leads to over monitoring? Like what's the thin line difference the teachers and
So the concept of monitoring and over monitoring, maybe I would give you some examples. According to me, I need to give some freedom for the students. It's like I'm really free with the students, but I want the work to get done. That's the only thing I'll kept as a line for the students. So it's like when we have a project or something, I'll be continuously monitoring them, but I'll be monitoring without they'll not be having an idea that I'm monitoring them. So that's the technique that I use to take care of each and every individual student, maybe in projects or something. I'll be monitoring them continuously, but I'll do it like you will not be able to understand that I have an idea that you are doing this thing or that thing. That's the method every teacher or every faculty used to have in a classroom.
thank you, ma'am.
There is a thin line between monitoring and policing, and I think we need to identify that monitoring without the student being knowing that he's being monitored, but yet the monitoring has to be very it should be measurable. We come to the end of this very insightful and enriching discussion, and before we leave, I would like each and every panelist to speak in about 2 to 3 sentences on the topic as his resting statement for today. We begin with Shilpa ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What is your last statement for today?
Yeah, ma'am, it was a wonderful session. And I think we bridged the gap between mentoring and monitoring, and with positive interaction amongst our students. And we were able to inculcate, encourage our students. And always I would like to advise the mentors that they should be able to remain connected with their students and promote class discussion and peer interaction. And they should, come up with good new ideas. They should create a sense of order and routine with the students, positive reinforcement and a very good behavior, take care of their students and maintain a positive mindset always with our students. Thank you
so much, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bish, what is your last statement of today's show?
First of all, I must say a big thank you to you for bringing us all together here. And there was a lot of learning from the co-panelists. I was in the learning mood. I was learning a lot from each one of them. And moreover, I learned from the students also a lot of things. So I think we believe in the mentor and mentoring. The best thing is what kind of a trust and faith is there on each other. Is my child able to trust me? If the child can trust, then only I can mentor. Others, it will be just burdening the child with a lot of information and no output at all. And when we talk about mentor and mentoring, both of them have to be on the same page. They have to have the understanding. They have to accept each other. If they're not able to accept, then nothing will happen.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Lakshmi ma'am.
So hi, and I'm really happy that I got an opportunity to interact with some kids across the country, and it was different locations. It was a very informative session. Even I was a student during the session. So I have seniors in the session, and I used to get so much of information from sir and ma'am. And to all the educators here, we know mentoring is the concept which is going to be there in future. So everyone has to be a mentor. So we have to update ourselves. That's the first thing I have to tell. Every individual has to study, has to update ourselves. Then only we'll be able to catch up with our students as they are the tech kids. So we have to be updated at every point of our life. And yeah, that's it. And I hope the session was useful to everyone. And thank you so much.
I'm sure. Thank you so much, Lakshmi ma'am. I would also like to capture a quick bites from our students as well. Yes, we begin with Harshita. One line. Vatsal.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, even for me, this was a very informative session as I got to know what the teachers think about how they do their work, how they separate monitoring from mentoring, and how they manage to bring both of them together, even in the classroom and outside of the classroom, so that even I, as a person, can grow and be a better version.
Great. Thank you so much. Shivansh.
Ma'am, first of all, thank you so much, ma'am, to be conduct this great session. Thanks a lot, ma'am. This helped me a lot, and it was like a boost in myself. And I'm get motivated by your words and to all the teachers who are present there. And that is something so fabulous. And again, a last thank you to ma'am. And I hope you will get this type of sessions again. And I'm also be the member of that. Thank you so much, ma'am.
For sure. Welcome. Next, we have Sharanya and Harshita. Anyone?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yes.
So it had indeed been an informative session for me. And as Vatsal said, we learned about the teacher's perspective on mentoring and monitoring. We had a lot of takeaways, and now we know the thin line difference. If in some time, for example, I'm a peer educator myself, I learned a lot, and I'll probably incorporate them in my own learning teaching process.
Thank you so much. And who is left now? Harshita? No.
Sita is having some network glitches. So
Okay.
she's
No.
not able, yeah, I think she's just not able to join and unmute herself.
Okay. Thank you so much. We had an enriching.
I had a network glitch. Can I hear what Vatsal said? I want to know.
Of course. Vatsal, can you read? Vatsal had some great insights. Vatsal, can you repeat yourself, please?
Sure, sir. So what I said was this session for me was very informative as I got to know the teacher's point of view, like Lakshmi ma'am described in the question that I asked, that she makes sure that from the beginning to the end, she monitors every single student, their progress, and how well do they do. And that for me helps me understand what I can do to help myself and even the teachers.
Great learning.
Great learning. I think these are the generation of the alpha generation who are definitely going to make a difference to the new world order. Thank you so much, everyone. We had an extremely,
Ma'am, 21st century child knows everything.
yes, we had an extremely enriching session. We started from who is a mentor, differentiating between mentoring and monitoring, the importance of feedback at the right point of time, monitoring to be done stage wise, and feedback to be given. We had Mr. Bish talking about the importance of voice and choice, the importance of less is more, and how each and every educator needs to be a behavioral counselor. We had Miss Lakshmi speak about labs where she gets an opportunity to interact with her students and go beyond the classrooms and make some great connections, and in the process empower and arm their students with the required skills. We had Ms. Shilpa Tyagi, who very beautifully brought out the elements of mentoring and how it is differentiated from monitoring. Thank you so much for sparing this time and making this an extremely enriching session. And thank you so much, Mr. Bish, your lovely school we could see in the backdrop. Thanks, everyone. Do we have any audio video?
Thank you so much. I just left the school just now. I was there for your session and for the enriching session. Thank you.
So thank you,
Can we
Divya
leave
ma'am,
now?
for giving this opportunity. Thank you so much, students and all the educators here. Thank you so much.
Aishwarya, any AV?